feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here, and as always, come check out our socials, which will be appearing right there on the screen. So follow us on Instagram, come subscribe to us on YouTube, like, comment, and leave reviews. That's pretty much all we got, right, Chris?
That's it.
And we're diving right in. We're not in a block, but it is indeed baseball season, so we're back on the diamond. And who do we have today?
Talking Ryne Sandberg, one of the best second basemen in one of the crappier teams at that time.
Yeah, I mean, like if there's a top 5 second baseman list, he's in it.
Yes, definitely. I saw that where you're going through his stats and you're just like, oh, he was good at everything. Because, I mean, I don't even want to talk about how many Golden Gloves, but like literally you're like, oh, he was a fantastic across the board.
Exactly, and he had power.
Which is so rare.
It's so, I mean, when you're thinking prototype, and we'll talk about a couple other guys, but I think only one other second baseman has more Gold Gloves than him.
Yeah.
Which is even more insane.
Impressive. Yeah, that's the thing, because he really did rake.
So, Ryne Sandberg, born September 18th, 1959 in Spokane, Washington. Spokane, Washington. His dad, Sandy, was from North Dakota, and his mom, Libby, was born to missionary parents in the Belgian Congo, actually. They met through a mutual acquaintance during World War II, corresponded, and ended up getting married.
That's some old school people getting together right there.
Right, you know, like
I wrote her letters for 2 years.
I drew pictures of my genitalia and sent it through the mail because that's how the Pony Express worked in the 1940s.
That's right.
Their parents were both baseball fans.
Yes.
Did want to bring that part up. His older brother, Dell, was named after Dell Ennis, and Ryne was named after Ryne Duren, a pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
His dad worked at a funeral home. I don't know if you saw that part, but apparently he wasn't much that into sports as far as like, you know, developing him, because Ryan's like main source of, you know, getting better at baseball was his older brother Dell. But he said, keep your mouth shut and eyes and ears open, then you might learn something.
Yeah, because it was he came from, and this we're going to bring this up later, he came from a very Jewish family, so they were like, they liked and respected sports, but I don't think they saw a future in it. You know what I mean? Where they were like kind of with their sons, they were just like, yeah, you can do that, but you're taking over the funeral, but you're taking over the dead body business when it's time. I feel like that was kind of the sentiment, and we'll get into it later when he goes to, you know.
Well, I'm not the one with the hot plate, Chris.
That's true. That's true. I'm not the freak.
So, as he grows older, much like all of our other athletes, very good at all sports.
Actually, standout football player.
That's what I didn't know that before we were researching this. Basically, big man on campus there at North Central High School in Spokane. Played quarterback and punter, sort of like Bobby Lane and Norm Van Brocklin.
That's right.
I guess they were still doing this in the 80s.
I was just going to say it's some old school stuff, but I feel like he was like going to an old school college where like, nah. The quarterback's got to hold the ball.
Yeah, I know, right? Leave him out there. But he was a parade All-American. He actually led the Greater Spokane League in passing yards. He held the record until Mark Rippon, future Super Bowl MVP, broke it.
Out there ripping.
And then on the basketball court, earned Greater Spokane League honors. One of his rivals at Gonzaga Prep was John Stockton.
Yeah, I saw that. They came up in Washington at the same time, and I imagine they were both like the star athletes.
Those shorts had to be so short.
Well, they needed them for mobility. That's what you don't understand.
I mean, you need them for mobility, but how mobile can you be if an onion drops, Chris?
It's true.
It's very true. It's very true. But baseball... All-City twice. As a senior, hit .417 with 4 dingers and finished second in the state. His team. Was sought after, though, as you said, more for football, which is very intriguing because he signed a letter of intent to play at Washington State.
And he signed, and this is the thing that I thought was interesting, he signed that letter as a football guy, as a quarterback. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it wasn't like they were like, oh, he's going to whatever. But
here comes our new middle linebacker.
Exactly. But that wasn't his plan, and I feel like what we see, like it was more of like him and his brother's kind of idea to be like, dude, you got a shot at the majors to like be in a major league team. You're just going to take it, because his mom wanted him
Both
to
his
go.
parents, wanted him to go to college.
But his mom was like the one that was like, yo, you're going to college. And then they kind of like broke off and had a talk with the Philly scouts, and they were like, we'll draft you if you're actually committed to come.
Yeah. So Dell was actually on Wazoo's 76 College World Series team.
Yep.
So he played there in college.
So I was going to say, so he went to the college that he knew what that was to play college baseball, and he was probably like, nah, dude, go play in the minors. That's going to be
Ryne
better.
Sandberg got rich playing in Pullman?
No, he got rich playing in college.
So June 8th, 1978, he's picked in the 20th round by the Phillies. They sign him almost like we talked about in our Hernandez episode, because everyone was shying away. Because normally, if you're it's not like like you said, it's not like he's going back like to college to play like, just a regular position. He's going to be the quarterback.
Yes.
So that's very enticing, and I think a lot of MLB teams are like, well, we can't draft him in the second or third, fourth round where he probably should go.
I was going to say, they look at it as a wasted pick. Not that his skill level wasn't there. It was literally like, so we're going to pick this guy and he's going to tell us no.
So, yeah, in Philly, to their credit, their scouts and general manager, when they went out and met with him.
I want to say this. The general manager, Dallas Green, was convinced to pick him up, who will come back later.
Oh, yes, we'll talk about him a lot. But much like the Hernandez thing, they offer him $20,000.
Yeah.
Nobody picked in the 20th round is getting $20,000 just to sign. And if you're Philadelphia, you're probably thinking, okay, so he says no and he goes to play college. We're out nothing.
Yes.
We're literally out nothing.
Exactly.
I hope in those situations they show up like Publishers Clearinghouse with like balloons and this big check.
Nah, they show up just drunk as fuck, like
Bobby Lane. We picked you this
we
20th
wanted you
round.
to go to Philadelphia.
Hey, college boy, enjoy getting the crap kicked out of you by
college
USC. Ooh, my fancy book learning. Guess what? You can learn stuff too on a bus to Helena, Montana.
God. That's how they showed up.
Of course, that's how they showed. Because they're dignified men of their time, Chris.
That's right.
Dignified men of their time. So, goes to him in 78. Signs, obviously, the Phillies organization. Rookie ball in Helena. I don't know.
Yep.
Hits 311 with one dinger and 23 RBIs. Did forget to say, though, his position right now is shortstop.
So he's playing shortstop he's playing shortstop this whole time, which your best defensive player is going to play shortstop.
And, I mean, he is top 3 all-time in Major League Baseball of defensive players at his other position. So this is, but we're going to figure out later what happens.
Yep.
I'd read on this rookie ball team, George Bell, the 87 AL MVP, was one of his teammates, and then Bob Dernier, who we'll talk about a little bit later.
I was going to say, and they all came up through the ranks together. Like, they were all, like, coming up through AAA, and that's pretty cool.
Imagine if you hated some of these teammates, though. Like, you again?
Oh, my God.
God, could you just start failing so I could get some sleep?
Yes.
79, he goes to Spartanburg in the Western Carolinas League.
No, I don't know if you know this about the Western Carolina League, but that's where boys become men. Excuse me.
Well, see, I heard it's just like the Carolina League, only Tim Robbins' grandma wears a cowboy hat and has a Kurt Russell mustache from Tombstone and gives you a mediocre Hummer.
Honey, everybody deserves to wear white. It's so good. So now he's a man.
He's a man. Well,
78.
79.
79. You're right. 79.
He's a man, and he marries, actually, his wife, Cindy, at this time.
I thought that was cool. He's playing for Reading. Or no. Okay, you're right. He gets married in
Spartanburg.
In Spartanburg, in Western Carolina.
Everyone deserves to wear white, Chris.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So Reading in 1980. He's basically just leveling up like every, normal prospect. Even though he's a 20th round pick, obviously he would have been
higher.
Yes. That year he hits 310, 21 doubles, 12 triples, 11 dingers, 32 stolen bases out of your shortstop.
I was just going to say, so this is when you start to see his base running ability, which I feel like people don't really bring up because he's so good at everything else, but you're just like, oh, he's one of the best rounding the bag that you have on your team.
When I think of shortstops of this time period, the only one with a skill set like this, and his body's the same because he's a tall and bigger dude, is Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh yeah.
Like this is a different time before we start seeing like the Nomars and the A-Rods and like big dudes with
Take that
power.
position,
Yeah. He's an Eastern League All-Star, and then in 81 in Oklahoma City, 293, 9 dingers, 60. He has 32 stolen bases again. Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous.
This is when they start to try him out at second and third.
Yeah.
This is
it's Philadelphia has a lot of infielders.
I was just going to say
infielders in addition to older ones.
And they can see him coming up, I feel like, and they're just like, let's try you at a couple of different positions.
See if we can fit you some. Maybe let other teams see what you can do.
Yep.
And, but September 2nd, 1981, he makes his debut. September call-up with Philadelphia and goes 1 for 6 for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's how long he played. It wasn't a lot.
First major league hit I did want to add was on September 27th, 1981, using his teammate, shortstop Larry Bowa, one of his bats, at Wrigley Field against the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But heading into 82, Philly has a glut of shortstops in addition to Bowa within their minor league system. They have Juan Samuel. They have the ageless Julio Franco, who I think won a batting title for Texas down the road. But he ended up moving to second base, oddly enough, for the Rangers. He can't play third base because our buddy Schmidt's there.
Who?
Schmidt.
Who's Mike Schmidt? You're telling me you don't know who Mike Schmidt is?
He's a leading home run guy.
Well, for white guys.
You're gonna tell me you don't know who Steve Bedrock Bedrosian is. Von Hayes. Nobody knows who Von Hayes is. This is the era when I think both of them are on the team.
So that's the thing that we're about to see is there's too many infielders. He doesn't have a position, and they pretty much to the only thing that I could say the Phillies credit, they trade for a shortstop and then go and win a World Series.
Well, no, they won an NL pennant.
Oh, they won a pennant.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did want to say, do you know how comforting it is to read something like this? Because the Padres do this all the time, and it blows up in their face to just be like,
top
happen
prospects,
to someone else. Like,
because they say
to be you, nerd, and
they
then you cry for 12 minutes.
They say it's one of the most lopsided trades of all time because of what he pretty much does in Chicago his whole career.
Well, it's funny because everyone likes to crap on the Cubs because they were the ones that traded Lou Brock.
Oh yeah,
to the Cardinals for Ernie Broglio. This is like the reverse of that, essentially. So, January 27th, 1982. He's traded with Larry Bowa because Bowa was looking to get
a new contract. He said he wasn't going to sign with the Phillies, so they're going for a shortstop. What I found really interesting, why I brought his name up earlier, was Dallas Green is now the Cubs GM.
Exactly.
And this is literally what the Phillies said was they really weren't looking to trade Sandberg, but Dallas Green literally said he is the only prospect that you have that I'm interested in.
For sure, yeah. And he was he went to his house and signed him. Like he's known him since he's 18.
With his dad.
So we are maybe not.
Yes. But that's what I mean was the fact that he was there got him to be like, no. I know how good this guy is going to be.
Sir, we can take this to a Waffle House.
That's right.
Like you had said before I go into the trade, Green, who was the Cubs GM, said that their director for scouting had told him not to make any deal unless it included Sandberg.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's how important he was. And even the scouting director knew.
Yeah.
But they was traded with Bowa for Ivan De Jesus.
Yep.
Ivan De Jesus.
So I think they said played 3 more seasons and really
he wasn't even starting.
I was just going to say really didn't play he was on the team for 3 more seasons. How about I say that?
Because I think Juan Samuel, this is shortly before he stepped in.
Yeah, and took over.
You know why what he's known for as far as trades, though, right?
No.
He was the one that they sent to the Mets for Dykstra.
Oh, nice.
The Philadelphia was like, let's get some value for this guy who's not coming back. So
this locker room is too calm.
We need Nails to party with Dalton, and let's get that awesome first baseman from San Diego with an Adonis' body and John Kruk. All right.
You're never going to give that one up.
I will never. I love Crucky so much, dude.
I love his body type.
Oh, so
My own.
It's like watching Swayze and Farley.
Yep.
God. So in '82, they're having spring training in Mesa. I don't know if you saw this story. Sandberg asked the equipment manager for 14, the number 14.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So he asked him for 14. I believe it was his high school number. And the equipment manager just started laughing at him because Ernie Banks was 14. For the
yeah.
You can't just give that number away.
Yep.
So they gave him number 23. And his manager at the time, Leah, makes him the opening day starter at third base.
Yep.
So they end up moving him because Boa came with him to play shortstop.
Well, I saw that they were going to try him at center field or third base. They were really like they knew what a good player he was, and they were just like, "We want you on the field. Let's find a position for you.
You can hit. We just we got to find something for you."
Yeah.
Struggles at first. One hit in his first 36 plate appearances, but to the coaching staff's credit and Sandberg's, they end up sticking with him.
Yep.
Towards the end of the season, though, kind of the scouts and front office people, they start seeing him out there and think, oh my gosh, this is another Bobby Grich. I don't know if you know who Bobby Grich is. He was second baseman for the Orioles on their good teams in the 70s and later the Angels during the 80s. He's like one of the war people's basic absolute dreamboats.
Oh, okay.
Because he had power, he got on base a lot by walking, and he usually hit about 280 to 290. So the Cubs are like, okay, we see you in that mold.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move you in and this is September, towards the end of the season, we're moving you to second base, and that's what they end up doing. So in '82, 103 runs scored, which was a Cubs rookie record, 33 doubles, and finishes 6th in Rookie of the Year voting. So it's a top-sol rookie there at third base, which is pretty good considering
It's pretty good.
you move positions.
Yes. And bouncing around, because you're right.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of the season they said that they put him in second, and they were like, you're going to be our second baseman. And it really clicked.
Yeah, it worked. Well, it clicks because Boa, going into the next offseason, they start training in Mesa together as the double play combo.
What was their nickname? The Daily Double?
No, that's the batting order.
Oh, that's the batting order. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But Sandberg credits Boa a lot with helping create a professional routine for him.
Oh,
an
yeah.
attitude this is your job.
Yep.
And in 1983, what does he do? Wins the Gold Glove.
Yeah, wins first of many Gold Gloves, which it's just second season, moves positions, and you're right. I bet the familiarity of him being like, I am this good at this position.
Oh, yeah. And he was the first National Leaguer to do it in his first season at a new position, which I thought was pretty good. In February '84, he inks a new almost $4 million deal, which now would be considered the league minimum. Chris.
Yes.
But in those days, how good are you, Ryne Sandberg?
I didn't know they still had a team out there in Cleveland,
Towards the end of the season, new manager Jim Frey, or in '84, he had talked about how he helped him change his hitting approach. And he hits with more power, kind of drives the ball to all fields and better on those inside pitches I
was going to say,
Brad.
84, 85, he really steps into as a power hitter because you're just he hits so well in this. He hits 314, 200 hits, 114 runs, and you're just he also goes, I didn't see how many stolen bases. I think he had 50 or so.
32 stolen bases.
32.
331 total bases, though.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable. He led the NL in runs scored. I did want to bring up, towards the end of spring training, they picked up Bob Dernier and Gary Matthews from Philadelphia. So the Dernier-Sandberg combo at the top of the lineup,
what it was.
the 1-2 is the daily double for him.
Because he had 36 doubles, 19 triples, and 19 home runs. They said he was one of the first people to come close to doing 20-20-20.
For second baseman, that you really haven't seen anything like this.
You haven't seen that, yes.
Do you want to get into the Ryne Sandberg game?
Yeah,
this year?
the Cardinal game.
So, big rivalry game, as always in the National League, Cubs and Cards. June 23rd, 1984. Bottom of the ninth, they're down 9-8, and future Hall of Fame closer Bruce Sutter, with his devastating split-finger fastball,
And
out there.
he's their closer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he is there, and
He's the reason they won the 82 series.
Exactly.
They wanted to shut it down.
and Sandberg, ninth inning, tattoos one.
1-1 pitch, gets that split finger fastball, and Harry Carey goes,
Oh,
the
man.
crowd is going bananas. So he ties the game, and then at the top of the 10th, the Cardinals get 2 more.
Yeah.
So there's one on in the bottom of the 10th. And Sandberg always had said, I kept telling myself to open up and swing inside. Sooner throws him another one, and he hits it out again.
So literally back-to-back home runs to tie the game.
And then in the bottom of the 11th, what happens?
Cardinals win.
No, the
I'm
Cubs
sorry.
win. They
Cubs
score the
win.
win. It's
Yeah,
12-11. Yeah. But so with all this awesomeness going on, where he ends up making the All-Star team again, or making the All-Star team this year, he wins a silver bat, wins a Gold Glove, and he's the NL MVP.
I was going to say, and the NL MVP, which if you look at those stats, it's insane.
I mean, these are as close to Rogers Hornsby as far as power from that position.
That was the guy that I saw that just kept getting, like, when you like look at stuff, they're just like, this is like the only other player that is in this realm of a power hitting second baseman that was also ridiculously good defensive. Like,
yeah.
and again, 85 Golden Glove.
Well, they make the playoffs. His
Oh,
first
yes,
year.
they make the playoffs,
Then
and this is the
84.
first time. Yeah.
So this is their first postseason trip since 1945.
Yep.
They win the NL East, and they play the Padres. And the first 2 games at Wrigley Field, they kick the crap out of them. They win 13-0 in Game 1, 4-2 in Game 2, and then they have to go back to San Diego, and you're thinking, okay,
You got it.
you're going to a World Series.
Yeah.
You don't even need the kid from American Pie to do it. You are going to the World Series, Cubs, and just like they always do, they win, Chris. No, they don't.
No, they don't. They lost all of the rest of the games.
It was an absolute. So they lose 7-1 in Game 3.
Yep.
7-5. Hall of Famer Lee Smith gives up a dinger to Steve Garvey to win that game, and then in Game 5 they're up 3-0 after 2 innings.
San Diego storms back.
So Ryne Sandberg comes into play here, though, because in the bottom of the 7th, with 1 out, Tim Flannery hits one to Leon Durham where it's Buckner before Buckner. The ball goes through his legs.
Yeah.
Carmelo Martinez scores. Alan Wiggins walks to go to first base, and then Tony Gwynn hits a ball at Ryne Sandberg. I mean, granted, he's a Gold Glove. There's no way he could have caught that ball. Like, it was literally on him.
Rocket. Yeah.
Skips into right field, and then go-ahead run score, and they end up losing Game 5, 6-3.
And going home.
He hit 368 in the series.
I know.
Which is like, it's never his fault for the Cubs being bad.
No.
But like you said, 85, awesome. From 85 to 88, I must say, though, in those 4 seasons, 75 dingers, 287 RBIs, 134 stolen bases, a Gold Glove every season, Silver Slugger in 85 to 88, or in 85 and 88.
Yeah.
And he gets the first home run in the first night game at Wrigley Field, only it doesn't count, which sucks.
Well, it's. I mean, you look at how great he was at his position. Like you were saying, he Silver Slugger, 85, 88, and then he's just going to have Golden Gloves until he's done.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, who's competing with him in the National League?
And the stolen bases. This is the other thing that I have to bring up, especially because stolen bases are almost like a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But it's really one of those things where you're like, God, he was such a great base runner. That's why he had so many triples, too. Like, we look at another fantastic base runner, Frank Thomas.
Of course.
And you compare these two, you know?
He goes into 89, and it's going to be the final year of his contract, though. And he says he's going to test out free agency. But doesn't happen.
No.
Doesn't happen.
Well, it's just not as lucrative as I feel like it should be. Like, nowadays, I feel like you would go somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, back then, maybe some collusion. I'm not...
Well, I mean, these were the collusion
is
years.
the era.
This is the era. 3 years for $6.1 million before the before the start of the regular season. Made him the highest paid second baseman in baseball right there. Frey's now the executive vice president. So Don Zimmer famous Pedro Martinez throwing to the ground object is the new manager. And
he's I don't know if you guys know this, but he's actually the Emperor, or he's actually Darth Vader. I don't know if you saw. You take the mask off. He's that giant pudgy
Who is
white
that
guy.
frail old man that's not James Earl Jones? They have a good team this year, though, because not only have Sandberg, you have Andre Dawson, who came because of that collusion.
Yep.
Mark Grace is there at first base. 89 Rookie of the Year, Jerome Walton's on this club with Greg Maddux pitching.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, this is before Atlanta, but this is still it's almost Cy Young there, Greg Maddux.
Yeah, exactly.
They go win 93 games, win the NL East, 30 dingers, All-Star Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, 76 ribbies, as 30 home runs. That's just what I can't even believe.
Yeah.
From that position, they go to the NLCS and they're pretty overmatched. Will Clark could not swing and miss in this entire series.
Yeah,
that was kind of the crappy part.
Well, it's one of those things where some great teams just don't make it to the end. You know what I mean? You're just like, that was a stacked team. You're just like, well, not enough.
I don't know. To his credit, Sandberg hit 400 in the NLCS. His postseason numbers never.
No, they
go
never drop off. Yeah.
Of course, this is the last time he'll ever be in a playoff game.
Yeah.
1990, as much as people talk about 84 when he won the MVP, I think 1990 is his best season.
Because, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. 40 home runs, first baseman to do it since Hornsby, like we were saying, and Davey Johnson was the other. But that was
like the most anomaly season for him.
Yes.
He was like 10 to 15 a year guy that just one weird season
cranked him out.
Yeah.
I also saw in this season, and this is why, like you were saying, I think 90 is technically better than his 84. He had 123 games through this span
I like
without an error. And you're just like, give that man all the Gold Glove.
Right. So one interesting stat that I found, he had 40 dingers and over 25 stolen bases. He was the first player, or he was only the third player ever to do that, with Jose Canseco in the performance-enhancing season.
Alleged.
Do you know the other guy to do it? He was a second baseman at the beginning of his career in Milwaukee.
No.
Hank Aaron.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
Yes. That's pretty good company right there. He won the home run derby there at the All-Star game.
Yep.
There at Wrigley.
And it was at Wrigley. That's what was
even better.
Yeah.
He did want to add he set career highs in slugging and OPS too, which is why I say if you're going to pick another year besides when he won the MVP, that's his best,
this year.
It's probably then.
Yeah.
And then we get into kind of the last two seasons of his tip-top productivity.
Yes.
91 and 92. All-Star and Gold Glove in 91. Silver Slugger twice.
This is his 9th consecutive Gold Glove.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
9 in a row.
Yeah.
Hit combined 297, 52 dingers, 187 RBIs, and a career high 379 on base percentage in 91. And 9 straight Gold Glove. That's pretty good for a guy that some in the Philly organization thought was a utility infielder.
Yeah. Because that was like literally what they had listed as his, like the scouts were just like, well, I mean, he's not bad, but he's not going to be a superstar. You know what I mean? You're just like, no,
oh, yeah,
he
he's
is
totally not a superstar.
Yep.
Only guy in the same mold as Rogers Hornsby. Oh, man. Also, March 2nd, 1992, he becomes the highest paid player in MLB history.
Yeah, he signs this huge new contract extension, which I feel bad sometimes for guys who get a ton of money and then their productivity drops off.
Yeah.
And we'll get into what he says later on, because it really is almost kind of like that, where like his personal life kind of falls apart and he's just like, I just don't have the desire.
Yeah.
Which that's
fire in my belly.
It's so sad, but it's actually kind of true.
Things might have happened. Rumors are swirling.
Rumors are starting to swirl in 92.
So 93, he's an all-star, but he only plays in 117 games. He has a broken hand, dislocated finger there in September. Still at 309, which is great. But 94 is a bit of a struggle for Rhino here.
This is when his personal life blows up, and I want you to touch on this because
I found some. Internet's an interesting place, everyone, and I mean, this is sometimes the allegations podcast, something with a grain of salt podcast.
It's true.
I'm just reading what's on the document. Tell her she's a whore. All right. June 13th, 1994, out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. He has
a really bad start to the season. He always almost has a slow start to the season, but this is really bad.
Well, he's like 35. He's about to turn 35.
He's about to, yeah.
But you're thinking he takes good care of himself. He's rarely ever injured. This is kind of sudden. He has this press conference with his wife, Cindy, there, where he says, I lost the edge that it takes to play, the drive, the motivation, the killer instinct. He forfeited $15 million.
Because he just signed this huge contract, and I'm pretty sure he played 1 year or 2 full years of it.
Yeah.
Something like that, where you're just like, geez.
So in his biography,
Yep.
he explains how, because every year, I think like 3 years in a row, they had a different manager at the beginning of the 90s, the Cubs. He said general manager Larry Himes let Andre Dawson and Greg Maddux walk as free agents. Like they weren't spending a lot of money. And he didn't like how a lot of the younger players were not interested in winning and more about the personal image and their stats. He specifically stated also in his biography that marriage difficulties were not an issue. Okay. And July 11th, 1994, NBC Nightly News, they ran a story about depicting a happy family. What they didn't know was in December of 93, Cindy had filed for divorce, which makes you think maybe I know why he didn't want to collect that $15 million.
There you go.
It's just a thought process, Chris. It's what it is. They ended up reconciling, but 1 week after they retired, I should say 1 week before the joint custody for their kids was final in the divorce, basically everything falls out. Everything kind of falls out regarding that. He only hit 238 in 1994. Nobody even knew. Most of his teammates had no idea about he even had a personal life. I don't know if you saw anything about that.
Well, he was very guarded, but I mean, not as guarded because
Not as guarded.
The rumor is that his wife was taking other Cubs into her bed, if you know what I mean.
That's what I've been reading. There were certain Cubs players who might have been. Now, logically, you would think Rafael Palmeiro was traded away because you had Mark Grace at first base. Maybe. Or maybe Dave Martinez was traded to the Expos because we already have enough. Maybe. We'll never find out. But what we do know is 4 days before the divorce became official, Ryne was engaged to one of his neighbors.
Yep.
Who had 3 kids that also knew his children. So I don't know exactly what to say about this. I'm not saying that he just lost the fire to play and that's what happened, but you generally don't come back once the fire burns out, Chris.
That's true, but we see him actually make a comeback.
That's what
which I thought was
interesting.
interesting. He comes back in 96, so he literally takes 94, 95 off the second half of the season because he retires in June.
Yeah.
And then 95 he takes off, and then he comes back in 96.
So as a almost 37-year-old, 25 dingers and 92 ribbies.
I know.
Like,
it's so awesome. And kind of have to think of like if his personal life or whatever was happening. You know, we're the allegation podcast. Whatever was happening.
Shaq, we just want to know, dude. I just want
Shaq,
one dick pic. That's
you're
it.
Keeping us up at night.
I'm not going to show it to I'm just going to tell people
I'm not going to show it
about
to anybody other than Dom.
I'll describe it like Mr. Garrison describes a romance novel, okay?
It's true. But yeah, to come back after that and still show that he was top of his game or would have been, you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff you're just like, I wish he had just kept playing.
So 97, April 26th, I did want to add he hits his 267th dinger, which is most by a second baseman.
Most by a second baseman.
At that time, all time. Broke Joe Morgan's record, who was not a fan of Ryne Sandberg. I don't know if you read anything about this.
No, why did Joe hate him?
Well, Joe didn't like a lot of people.
That's true.
I mean, he liked Jack Clark. I think that should
encompass.
So if you listen to our last episode, maybe
that'll make so much sense.
He said essentially, here it is. He was kind of quiet, and his teams never won anything. He never showed me that kind of leadership. When things are going bad, you don't just walk away, do you? Oh, I'm sorry he didn't bat in the effing Big Red Machine lineup.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Ken Griffey Jr.'s dad, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez. Ooh, I bet that's a lot easier than whatever the Cubs are rolling out. Oh, God, I hate that Joe Morgan. Anyway, August 2nd, 1997, he announces he's going to retire.
Yep.
And then on September 20th, 1997, they have Ryne Sandberg Day there at Wrigley Field, which I'm sure was so nice.
Gets his last hit.
Gets his last hit there. He said he lived his field of dreams right there at Wrigley Field, which I think is really... And you know what? Unlike a lot of these guys, he spent his whole career with one team.
Yep.
He kept coming back to the Cubbies.
I saw that his last game and Harry Carey's last game...
Yeah, because he died.
Because he died that winter. And when I think of Cubs in the 80s, I think of Ryne Sandberg and Harry Carey. You know what I mean?
Rhino's batting about 312
Rhinos.
since we saw his wife with Raffy's nuts in her mouth.
I'll tell you what. Sometimes you think that they're going to get better when they get that, when their wife's cheating on them. Yeah, it really is when you were watching like the WGN.
Oh, when you watch it's those two. Those are like the only two constants. That and a lot of losing.
And a lot of losing.
A lot of losing.
One playoff appearance. Two
NL East titles. 2005 makes the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
You know who he entered with?
No.
Guy we did an episode on. One of our first episodes on.
Pete Rose?
He enjoys drinking on flights.
Oh, the Chicken Man.
Yeah, Bogsy.
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
Joe Morgan, Hall of Famer, did not attend said induction. So
I was talking about the Chicken Man today. That's actually awesome.
oh my God. What are you doing, Bogsy?
Yep.
He starts coaching, though.
I saw that. He has a managerial career.
With the Cubs. Went all the way up to AAA in their minors and then went to Philadelphia in their minor league system. And from 2013 to 2015, he was a coach of the Phillies.
Yeah.
When they were painfully mediocre.
Yes, they
after
were.
all those good World Series and, scaling the facade of the building and,
Riot
Let's
punch.
talk about Let's talk about steroids.
Let's talk about steroids. And I have to use the Philly fanatic because I can't even say fanatic because they're going to sue me.
So Ryne Sandberg, though, these are a second baseman. I gotta add
I know. It's with 9 consecutive Gold Gloves.
7 silver bats, 10 All-Star games, an MVP, 282 career dingers, 344 stolen bases, but he hit 285.
I know.
That's unbelievable. We said at the beginning, if there's a top 5 of second baseman in baseball history, his name's in there. Granted, maybe not at number 1 with Hornsby, but he's at least 2 or 5. Pick him depending on who's making the rankings.
Depending on, I was going to say, what your preference is.
Yeah.
Almost.
What's your preference?
Because it really isn't like that much division between that because he really is top 5 second baseman of all time.
Oh, yeah. Ryne Sandberg, everybody.
All-time Cub.